Alright guys, we're going to change the blade here on the sawmill. We're cutting this walnut log, so I want to make sure we have a nice and sharp blade on it, just to make sure that we don't have any dips or anything in the wood. This is a more valuable log, so we're going to make sure we make the best cuts possible. So I'm going to show you how to change the blade on the Woodmizer Lt35. First thing we're going to do, we would loosen the blade, which it is loose right now in the down position. If it was tight, it would be all the way up, and then, so now we're gonna loosen the blade. We're gonna open up these two doors. There's two latch on each side, very simple. We're gonna take, all we're gonna do is just pull the blade off the flywheels. Pull it out of the hole in the top. I always pull it out of the top first when you're taking the blade off. And then you pull it out underneath the flywheels on the bottom next, and then all you do is pick it up and it comes right out. So now next I'm going to show you guys how to open a blade when they come in from, these ones have all been sharpened I think twice, so, but they come in when they're all rolled up in a little circle. So I'll show you how I unroll them, and then I'll show you how to put the next blade on. Alright, so the blades come in a box like this when they come back from shipping. They put these little cardboard spaces in between the blades so they don't rub on each other. Yeah. So this is how they come after they come back from resharpening. When you buy new blades, they'll be packaged different, but this is how they come back from shipping. They have one little, I don't know if you see that, they got one little piece of wire holding them together so they don't come flying open. So you just take that little piece of metal off. I always put it back in the box, and this is how I do it. I open this until one strand comes down, and I always have the strand with the teeth pointing down. And this is just the way I do it. It's the way I learned. I don't know who I learned from. I think I just made this up. But what I do is I put it down, put the blade tip right on the tip of my shoe, and then I push it down into the ground. And that takes the pressure off the blade when you push it down in the ground. And then I grab one hand on each side of these two blades here, and I slowly just let up until all the weight, now it's my shoe is holding the pressure of them tips. So I put my hands on the outsides of these blades. Make sure that your fingers are not touching the actual teeth. Your hands aren't touching the teeth because they'll fly open and it's going to cut you. But next, all I do, I just pick it up off my shoe and let it fly open. It works. This is how I've always done it, and it works great for me. So here we go. Just like that. It's very simple. That's just the way I do it. I don't know. I'm sure I'll hear a lot of comments of that, how dangerous, whatever that is, but it's the way I do it, and it's the way I like doing it. It's very simple and easy. Alright, now that we got the blade opened up, one thing I usually do is I take these belts off the flywheels, and then I switch them. Every single time that I change a blade, I usually switch them. So I'll take the one from this side, I'll clean it off a little bit, clean the sawdust off of it, and then I'll put it back on this side here. It helps wear so the bands wear evenly. Now usually when you would typically do this, it's a lot easier when you don't have a log on a sawmill, but I noticed the blade was dull when I was making this cut, so I decided to put one on now. But it's as simple as that. They go on really easy. So the next thing I'm going to do, we're going to put the blade on. So we're going to put the bottom in first. We put it right in, let it lay on the metal. It's holding itself up there. The next thing, I grab it from the top and you stick it right in the little slot. I usually put that side in first, and then I slide it in through this lip up here. And then I always, since I'm always on this side, I put the blade on that flywheel first. Make sure that the teeth are just sticking out past. The teeth are just sticking out past the belt. And it's not that critical because it is a self-tracking, so no matter, unless it's way off, it's either the blade's gonna either come off or it's gonna self-track on the right spot. And I've never had one come off, and I don't even know if that's a thing. But now we're gonna come to this side. I always do put the top on first on the flywheel, and then all you have to do is I go around the bottom of the flywheel and pick up the belt so it's tied up against the bottom of the flywheel, because if you don't, that blade's going to catch the lip of that belt and it's going to push it back and you're not ever going to get it on there. So I stick my hand through there, push the belt up, and all you have to do is just push the blade on. And then simple as that. So we shut our doors back, and I'll get that side when I go around. So we get there and we start cutting. Next, the one thing you would do, it's a tip that it's a tip whenever you are changing a blade in the middle of a cut, always make sure you either know where you left off, or the easiest thing is to come, after you come out of a cut, have your program set at whatever thickness. Here I'm cutting these, they're 2 3/8, so the board is going to be 2 1/4 when it comes off with the 1/8 inch kerf of the blade. So I'm cutting 2 1/4 inch thick boards, but the computer set at 2 3/8 for the 1/8 inch kerf of the blade. So, but anyways, whenever I would come out and I would come back, the smartest thing is to drop this down before you shut the engine off. So then after you put the blade on, all you have to do is start it, and then you right in the right spot to make your next cut. So that's the best and easiest way to do it if you are changing the blade in the middle of a log. Another very important thing, you got to make sure you tighten your blade before you, typically before you start your engine, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Definitely before you engage your clutch though. So all you do is you put that bar up and it locks the blade tight. Then you can come back here and you can check. This is your guide for your tension of your blade. What it is the end of this nut is lined up with the backside ring of this nut here. So the backside of this nut lines up with this metal strip on the back of that adjuster knob. So you can see that's pretty perfect right there. So we're all good to go. And usually I've very seldom changed the tension on this, so it's usually always ready to go. But if you did, all you have to do is just turn that little knob until that lines up properly. So Woodmizers are all set up very, very user friendly. They're a very good machine. I have no complaints about mine so far. And I have 262.6 hours on this machine, and I have yet to.
Alright, so here you go. The computer set at 2 3/8, and all you have to do is press that little down lever, and then the head moves automatically down 2 3/8 to cut a 2 1/4 inch thick board. That is your throttle engage, and also your engages the clutch for the blade. So that little lever there, and then that was just turning on the water to lubricate the blade, to help it go through the log. These logs have been sitting for, I don't know, probably close to 2 years. So There's not a ton of moisture inside the log, but it's not super dry either. But every little bit of moisture or lubrication on that blade will help it make a nice cut, and it keeps the blade nice and cool also. But yeah, I messed up a little bit and turned the phone sideways, so just bear with it for just a little bit. This clip isn't very long, so yeah, I just wanted to kind of show you guys that and explain a little bit more of what's going on here. Alright, so here you can see me pulling these boards off the mill. I'm working by myself this evening, so I'm using the loading arms to help me out lowering it down and everything. I left that first cut or off-fall slab there, so the slab isn't sitting on the metal, and it's not putting any marks or anything on the actual wood. So it's resting on the bark of the off-fall piece. So that works out good. And then I lower the loading arms down and get it close to these slabs. I'm sure most of you guys know already, but the stickers, I usually space them 18 inches apart or so is what I usually do, and I think they're 3/4 inch thick. And then I sweep off all the sawdust and everything to keep the log or just keep all the wood nice and clean. It helps it dry nice and clean. And I don't know if it's true. I've heard if you don't sweep it off, the wood can mold. I don't know. I always swept it off. I haven't had any problems with it, but mainly just for presentation. When the log is dry, and it's not such a big mess everywhere. But yeah, sweep it off, and then I put them little 3/4 inch thick stickers there every 18 inches or so that they dry evenly. This log is about, I think the very widest cut was right at 26 inches, and so I ended up having to, actually the bark peeled off, so the bark to bark was about 26 inches, so I peeled off the one side a bark a little bit, and it gave me just enough clearance to make it by. But on this Lt35, the absolute widest cut is between the two roller guides is about 26 inches. So this log it's about maxing out the width of the sawmill. It's a really nice log. It's consistently about 22 to 24 inches all the way down to that crotch section there. Then after that it drops down a little bit, but it'd still be a really, really nice log. Turn out some really pretty lumber. Hopefully these will be turned into tabletops or countertops, kitchen cabinets, or not cabinets, but kitchen countertops, or anything like that, bar tops. So I have a lot of people that come for different kinds of stuff. The walnut, I typically sell quite a bit of the walnut slabs right now, so trying to sell last year's walnut. I usually let it dry for about a year or so, and it ends up I just air dry them, but I have some extra space in the basement, so I have been putting all the walnut in the basement, and then I have a fan and a dehumidifier going, so I usually can get them down to around 14% or so moisture, it's pretty decent for the bigger slabs. Most of the people I sell to, they're smaller woodworkers usually, so they have like a little homemade kiln thing that they have inside. They'll put it in the little chamber and then heat it up to make sure they kill all the bugs that could be in them and all that stuff, and bring them down a little bit more in moisture content. Usually by the time I start selling them, they're fairly dry. But yeah, I sell to little woodworking shops, and then I post some stuff on Craigslist, and then like Facebook Marketplace are the two biggest places I get big business from. A lot of people they'll join two of them together for making tabletops, and I get a lot for, like I said, countertops and bar tops and all kinds of different stuff I get. So selling the walnut definitely helps pay for. I got the sawmill all paid off, but now I gotta start saving up, making payments on the skid steer we got. So selling the walnut and going out and cutting lumber and all that other stuff helps pay for the skid steer. I'm gonna try to pay for the skid steer with everything from the sawmill, but we'll see how that goes. I'd like to start saving up money from my actual job, and I don't want to have to use any money from my actual job to pay for the skid steer, but we'll just have to see how it goes. Take it little by little and just see how it goes. But there you could see that little the blade guide arm adjuster pulling it in to get it close to the log, and then these are some pictures of the log we cut. It turned out some really, really beautiful lumber, really beautiful slabs. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good evening.